In our universe, all things are driven by energy. Energy powers our sun, our environment, our society, even our bodies. Energy is life. New and profound advances in science and engineering are allowing us to harness this energy abundance in marvelous new ways. To create clean, affordable, and reliable energy for all Californians. The SoCalGas Research Development and Demonstration Program has enlisted an incredible team of experts in science, engineering, industrial technology, and environmental policy to identify, build, and implement these transformational technologies throughout society. Collaborating with the world's top institutions, we have deployed over $73 million on hundreds of groundbreaking projects over the past 5 years. Hyatt Hydrogen, which could enable transporting hydrogen through existing infrastructure to power fuel cell vehicles and facilities. Doosan Mobility Innovations hydrogen drones that have 4 times the flight capacity of lithium-ion powered alternatives. And hydrogen-powered yard trucks that can move massive shipping loads for 20 hours per day with 0 emissions. These revolutionary projects are saving energy, reducing emissions, and improving air quality, as well as increasing energy safety, reliability, and affordability for all. At SoCalGas RD&D, we believe in clean energy abundance, so we are sharing this pivotal research in order to deploy these innovative technologies across the world. Because energy is life. And we believe a clean energy future will bring a better future to everyone. SoCalGas, Research, Development, and Demonstration. Learn more at www.socalgas.com/RDD.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the SoCalGas Research, Development, and Demonstration Department's 2023 Public Workshop. My name is Matt Grigori, and I am a Technology Development Manager on the RD&D team. My pronouns are he, him, his. I will be your host this morning, along with my RD&D teammates. Before we begin, a few notes about our session today. A recording of today's workshop will be available for download. Each session today will end with time for questions and comments. We will also dedicate time at the end of the day for additional questions and comments. We encourage all attendees to submit written comments after the workshop via our online comment form. Scan the QR code shown here or use the link. This presentation is available in your handouts today. I recommend downloading it for future reference. Please submit your comments by Friday, May 5th. And if you ever have questions, comments, or suggestions for RD&D, please email us at rddinfo@socalgas.com. A walkthrough of the GoToMeeting interface is next. On your screen, you should see a control panel. For questions from the audience, there are 2 options. Click on the questions bar to submit written questions, or you can raise your hand to be called on during the Q&A session by clicking on the raise hand icon. When you are called on to ask a question, we will first grant you access to unmute. Then you must unmute yourself by clicking on the red microphone icon. After you have asked your question, please click the microphone icon to go back on mute. We do ask that questions and comments are limited to 1 minute. If you click on the handouts bar, you will find a number of important documents, including the 2022 RD&D Annual Report, today's workshop presentation, and a technical FAQ document. We recognize that our audience is diverse, so we tried to provide some basic technical information to help out anyone who doesn't eat, sleep, and breathe science and technology the way the RD&D staff do. Attendees calling in by phone will be in listen-only mode. We do apologize for any inconvenience. For today's workshop, we'll start the workshop by reviewing our 2022 and 2023 activities. Then we'll provide detailed information about SoCalGas RD&D. We'll present an overview of the 2024 research plan, and then we'll provide detailed information about each of the 4 programs within RD&D and ask you for your input. We will be working hard to stick to the posted schedule. That allows folks to dial in just for the specific programs of interest to them. If we finish a section early, we will have to wait until the next section's scheduled start time. But we have a lot of information to cover, so I don't think that will be a problem. We will have 5 presenters today. My teammates will introduce themselves at the beginning of their sections. If I may, I'd like to take a few seconds to introduce myself. My name is Matt Grigori. I am a Technology Development Manager for Customer Solutions in the RD&D group. I oversee the Clean Transportation and Clean Energy Applications programs. I've been at the gas company for 7 years. Prior to joining RD&D, I ran several biodiesel production facilities in Nevada and California and helped commission and operate the food waste anaerobic digester at the Ralphson Food for Less Distribution Center in Compton, California. I hold a BS in chemistry from the California Institute of Technology, Go Beavers, and an MBA from the Anderson School of Management at UCLA, Go Bruins. Now let's get started with the show. Big picture, what is SoCalGas RD&D? RD&D is a ratepayer-funded program authorized by the CPUC. Our goal is to fund research to develop new technologies that benefit our customers by saving energy, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving air quality, and increasing the safety, reliability, and affordability of energy. Now I'd like to briefly review our commitment to diversity. SoCalGas is committed to providing our customers with safe, affordable, and reliable gas service. We are also dedicated to improving the quality of life in the communities we serve by maintaining a diverse workforce, working with suppliers that represent and reflect the communities we serve, and giving back through charitable contributions and employee volunteer activities. % of our total purchases with diverse firms. This is the 30th year that SoCalGas has exceeded the diverse spending goals set by the CPUC. And reinforcing our vision of a workplace where everyone feels like they belong and is able to thrive, the SoCalGas Diversity and Inclusion Department offers several ways for employees to be involved, including 5 diversity and inclusion councils and a diversity and inclusion mentoring program. SoCalGas RD&D also has a role to play by seeking to locate projects in under-resourced communities, supporting diverse represented groups, sharing the results from RD&D projects to inform and educate the general public, and reporting our progress in diversity and inclusion efforts in our annual report. For more details, please visit the SoCalGas Empower and Supplier Diversity websites. Now let's take a look back at the activities and accomplishments of the RD&D program in 2022. In 2022, RD&D supported 339 active projects. We started 57 new projects and completed 90 ongoing projects. In 2022, RD&D spent just shy of $15 million on program activities. We achieved an average leverage ratio of 7.2x, meaning on average, for every dollar provided to a research project by RD&D, the project received $7.20 in additional funding from other agencies, utilities, or funding programs. Let's look at our equity activities in 2022. Increasing our diverse supplier base is critical to SoCalGas's mission of delivering clean, safe, and reliable diverse business owners is not just an integral part of our corporate strategy, but also benefits our suppliers and local communities. In 2022, SoCalGas spent over $1 billion with diverse firms, working with 578 diverse suppliers. RD&D, for its part, supported 61 projects located on the topic of outreach. Connecting with the research community and sharing results of our work are very important to our team. In 2022, we held a workshop just like this one to collect input and feedback on our 2023 research plan. We also provided updates on our activities on LinkedIn, sharing project updates, funding and grant opportunities, and news. If you are active on LinkedIn, I highly recommend following the RD&D account. And in 2022, we held 4 research webinars featuring our research partners and providing the public with a deep dive into our work and the results of our research projects. Recordings of those webinars are available on the RD&D website. Publications. In 2022, our projects resulted in 37 reports, briefs, and journal articles. The complete list of publications is available in the 2022 annual report. Seeking out and securing outside funding is an important feature of the RD&D program. In 2022, 8 RD&D project proposals were awarded over $18 million in co-funding from the California Energy Commission, or CEC, and the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE. Follow-on funding is a key metric of success for the RD&D program. In 2022, the 14 RD&D alumni companies shown here raised over $500 million of follow-on funding to grow their businesses and deploy their technologies. A major goal of the RD&D program is to bring technology from the lab to market. In 2022, organizations across California and throughout the nation deployed numerous products and technologies for real-world use as a direct result of the support they received from the RD&D program. A few examples. The Center for Hydrogen Safety developed a best safety practice, or BSP, for leak detection technologies and methodologies. The draft BSP is available on the US DOE-funded H2 Tools website. NiSearch conducted testing to improve the capabilities of the NiSearch range model for determining appliance performance with hydrogen blends and specifying a concentration limit for silicon-containing molecules in RNG. SoCalGas is using this research to support a new upper action limit for siloxanes. The Pipeline Research Council International, or PRCI, completed a comprehensive update of the Pipeline Repair Manual, documenting advances since the last update in 2006. SoCalGas uses the manual to develop company standards and support the Pipeline Integrity Program. RD&D worked with ASTM to review and update standard D7380-15, a test method for soil compaction determination at shallow depths. The revised standard has been published by ASTM and is used by SoCalGas engineering teams in their operations standards documents. And of course, for more details about all the projects we supported in 2022, please take a look at our annual report, which is included in your handouts today and is available for download on the RD&D website. Safety is a key component of the company culture at SoCalGas. So before we go any further, we'd like to take a moment to think about safety. Did you know that eye strain caused by screens has its own name? It's called computer vision syndrome, or CVS. Since we will all be at our computers for the next few hours, let's review some of the symptoms of eye strain. Symptoms may include dry or watery eyes, headache, or soreness in the neck, shoulders, and back. To help prevent eye strain, we recommend practicing the 20-20-20 exercise. Every 20 minutes, find something about 20 feet away and look at it for about 20 seconds. Eye strain from computers and other digital devices can be uncomfortable. The 20-20-20 rule may help you avoid eye strain. Now let's take a look at RD&D activities so far in 2023. Each year, RD&D submits a research plan for the following calendar year to the CPUC's Energy Division for review and approval. The 2023 research plan was submitted by Tier 3 Advice Letter on June 15th of 2022. We are currently awaiting approval of the 2023 research plan. Earlier this year, SoCalGas RD&D completed an equity engagement roadmap. This document describes a multi-year vision for improving equity engagement within SoCalGas RD&D. The goal of this roadmap is to maximize the likelihood that the benefits of new clean energy technology positively and equitably impact all communities within California, with special consideration for those communities that have been historically under-resourced. I'd like to spend a few minutes reviewing the key aspects of the roadmap, which is included in your handouts today. The roadmap is a public document that describes a multi-year vision for improving equity engagement within the RD&D program. The roadmap is designed to allow the RD&D program to grow over time and strengthen our community engagement. It is critical that the roadmap include input from key stakeholders, including ESJ community representatives. As such, we solicited input from stakeholders at various stages of the roadmap's development. We tried to develop the equity engagement roadmap in the same thoughtful and deliberative manner we undertake with all of our research projects. And like any good research project, this one started with a thorough literature review. The review covered 50 source documents from federal, state, and local agencies, industry and utilities, and academic and NGO reports. We engaged other groups within SoCalGas to coordinate with ESJ activities already in place and leverage established relationships with community members. For example, Regional Public Affairs has been extremely helpful in connecting RD&D with community-based organizations throughout our service territory. Based on the foundation provided by the literature review and internal stakeholder input, we identified 3 key themes. For those themes, we then engaged the RD&D team to brainstorm potential tasks that could be executed to help advance the theme. The potential tasks were then evaluated based on factors including resource requirements and potential for impact to the community. Once the draft plan was developed, we presented it to several groups of internal and external stakeholders, solicited their feedback, and incorporated changes to the plan. Now let's dig into the specifics of the roadmap. A key part of the roadmap is defining what we mean by an ESJ community. We have drawn our definition from the guidelines in the California Public Utilities Commission's Environmental and Social Justice Action Plan. This definition is inclusive and allows for easy geographical reference through CalEnviroScreen, which is a website that can be used to help identify California communities that are disproportionately burdened by pollution. CalEnviroScreen is maintained by the California Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment. Based on feedback from our stakeholders, we expanded the definition to include 2 federal programs. The Hub Zone program fuels small business growth in historically underutilized business zones and is managed by the United States Small Business Administration, or SBA. Opportunity zones are economically distressed communities defined by individual census tract, nominated by America's governors, and certified by the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury. Opportunity zones are managed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Both of these federal programs maintain interactive maps to identify qualifying locations. The Equity Engagement Roadmap is built around 3 key themes. First, obtain situational awareness. Where are we now with our engagement efforts? What can we improve? And are we improving over time? Task 1, monitor and report key RD&D equity engagement project metrics in the annual report. As Peter Drucker famously said, you can't manage what you don't measure. So let's start by identifying some metrics to assess our equity engagement activities. These metrics could include the number of RD&D projects located in ESJ communities, or the % of total RD&D funding that went to diverse business enterprise vendors. Task 2, regularly assess the effectiveness of the equity engagement roadmap activities. We view this roadmap as a living document, and we plan to update it as we learn more about our equity engagement activities and the impact on the communities we serve. The next theme is increase community engagement. How do we better connect with the communities we serve? Task 3 is establish a stipend program to encourage CBOs and other stakeholders to participate in the RD&D public workshop. We want to encourage diverse researchers and advocates for ESJ communities to participate and provide input during our annual RD&D public workshop. But we appreciate that this takes time and resources, a big ask for stakeholders with limited funding. We can provide small stipends to encourage participation by stakeholders that otherwise might not have the resources to make their voices heard. Task 4, provide funding and mentoring support to student engineering projects. We want to encourage and inspire the next generation of diverse researchers. In the past, RD&D staff have engaged with students at Cal State LA as part of their senior design program, providing project ideas and mentoring support. We plan to continue and expand this work to engage with science and engineering students interested in applying their skills to address California's environmental challenges. The final theme is institutionalizing equity engagement. How do we build these efforts into everything we do in RD&D? Task 5, commit to review and revise RD&D literature to include ESJ language. Language and representation matter. We plan to add ESJ language and information to the documents, reports, and presentations that we produce. This could include incorporating our commitment to the community into all of our webinar presentations, or sharing equity engagement resources with the community through our annual report. We want our stakeholders to know that equity engagement is a critical component of the RD&D program. Task 6, review and revise RD&D project policies to include DEI components. We can include equity engagement as a criteria for how we select research projects. We can track diversity within the research teams that receive RD&D funding, or we can request a diversity spend plan be included in the scope of work for certain projects. By including equity considerations in our regular processes, RD&D staff will be better able to identify new opportunities to support the communities we serve. For additional information, please refer to the Equity Engagement Roadmap that is included in your handouts today. Now that we've covered the Equity Engagement Roadmap, let's revisit the details of the 2023 research plan. For 2023, Advice Letter 5991 proposed a total spend of about $16.5 million. With 10% set aside for program administration, we allocated 33% for low carbon resources, 22% for gas operations, 12% for clean transportation, 10% for clean generation, and 13% for customer end use applications. For year-to-date 2023, we are currently $2.6 million below our spend plan. Until the 2023 research plan is approved, we are unable to approve any new contracts. I do want to take the time now to thank all of our project partners, research teams, and community stakeholders for your patience. We may be on hold to execute new project agreements, but RD&D has been very active so far this year. In February, the 2023 Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Seminar was held in Long Beach, California. The seminar is one of the longest running conferences for the hydrogen sector in North America and brings together technology, business, policy, and the best of the hydrogen and fuel cell industry. A number of RD&D projects were presented at the seminar, including the role of fuel cells in net zero energy homes, presented by Robert Flores from the University of California, Irvine, metal-supported solid oxide fuel cells and electrolyzers for low-cost, robust, rapid start systems, presented by Mike Tucker from the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and the hydrogen fuel cell yard truck demonstration at the Port of Los Angeles, presented by Bart Soa from GTI Energy. In March, RPE held their annual Energy Innovation Summit, a conference and technology showcase that brings together experts from different technical disciplines and professional communities to think about America's energy challenges in new and innovative ways. Again, a number of RD&D projects were shared at the summit, including a hybrid electrochemical and catalytic compression system for generation of high-pressure hydrogen, a project supported by Caltech, PNNL, and Nel Hydrogen, and development of an offshore standalone system for efficient CO2 removal from ocean water, featuring Captura, a startup spun out of Caltech. And in June, we are looking forward to the DOE's Hydrogen Program Annual Merit Review, or AMR, where hydrogen and fuel cell projects funded by the DOE are presented and the projects and programs are reviewed for their merit. The 2023 AMR will have a hybrid format with virtual and in-person attendance options. Several RD&D supported projects are scheduled for review, including a fuel cell hybrid electric delivery van with Jason Hanlon from Center for Transportation and the Environment presenting, an electrolyzer bioreactor integration with Kevin Harrison from NREL presenting. Registration for the AMR is now open. Of course, these are just a few of the ways that RD&D communicates project activities and results to the broader research community and the general public. And we've been out with our research partners tracking down funding to amplify the RD&D budget. So far this year, 5 RD&D supported projects have been awarded over $9 million in funding from the DOE and CEC. Those projects cover topics such as new carbon management technologies, decarbonizing buildings through energy efficiency, and systems to improve pipeline integrity through risk assessment. This year, we were honored to receive the 2022 Cleany Silver Award for Clean Energy Investment Leader of the Year. Among a field of major global companies, SoCalGas RD&D was identified as a leader in sustainable business priorities. A cornerstone of this prestigious award is the degree to which the winner's transformations have the potential to create positive impact at scale in their sector and beyond. Our employees, business partners, and community leaders are proud to be recognized by the Cleany Awards for making a meaningful difference in our industry, communities, and beyond. Now let's dig into RD&D in a little bit more detail. Let me introduce you to the amazing RD&D team. RD&D is staffed by a diverse group of experts in science, engineering, industrial process technology, and environmental policy. You will get to meet a few of these folks as we go through the individual program presentations later today, and you can learn more about the members of the RD&D team on the Meet Our Team section of the RD&D website. Within RD&D, we believe our mission is to identify transformational energy solutions, build them, and share them with the world. To support this mission, we have identified 3 key values: science, synergy, and equity. These values inform how we select projects and which research areas we support. Public Utilities Code 740.1 laid the foundation for utility-directed research, development, and demonstration programs. This statute is the basis for how we manage RD&D activities. The code directs RD&D activities to identify projects that have a reasonable probability of success, that provide ratepayer benefit, and that do not unnecessarily duplicate work conducted by other research organizations. 740.1 also provides the basis for the 6 key benefits that we focus on within RD&D. We'll discuss those benefits in just a few slides. Before we go any further, I'd like to share a few terms that we'll be using today. SoCalGas RD&D is a group within SoCalGas focused on identifying, testing, and developing transformational energy technologies and products that promote California's energy goals. A program is a division within SoCalGas R&D focused on products and technologies united by a broad theme, such as clean transportation or gas operations. A subprogram is a division within a program focused on a subset of the program theme, such as on-road transportation or refueling stations. Subprograms remain relatively constant but can change in response to industry developments, stakeholder input, or CPUC guidance. Finally, each subprogram includes several research areas. These forward-looking categories suggest the types of RD&D projects that we hope to fund. Staff evaluate research areas annually, and these research areas are non-exhaustive, meaning a subprogram can include projects outside of the specifically enumerated research areas. For the cycle beginning in 2024, RD&D will be divided into 4 research programs that span the entire energy delivery value chain. In order from the supply side to the demand side, we have clean and renewable energy resources, gas operations, clean transportation, and clean energy applications. Each program will be presented in detail later in the workshop. RD&D focuses on 6 customer benefits. Every project we conduct supports at least one of these benefits, and most projects support multiple benefits for our customers. In no particular order, the 6 customer benefits are reliability, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, improved air quality, safety, improved affordability, and operational efficiency. The RD&D program is a vital element of a much larger technology funding ecosystem. RD&D program staff works with leading industry professionals and subject matter experts from universities, national labs, and businesses to maximize the impact of our investments in promising technologies and products with high commercialization potential. These relationships allow us to effectively identify and close knowledge gaps and research gaps, avoid duplication of previous and ongoing research, and mitigate technical, economic, and commercialization risks. Together, information and research concepts are exchanged, project collaborations are developed, and public and private funding opportunities are actively sought. These are just a few of the universities, public agencies, research consortia, and national labs that RD&D has worked with in the past. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with new research partners, especially those from diverse academic populations at universities and colleges that serve first-generation students and students from ESJ communities. The SoCalGas RD&D program complements and supplements research funded by government agencies, industry, and the investment community. For example, the RD&D team is a commercialization partner for industry, focused on bringing technology from the lab to the market. The RD&D team also leverages diverse sources of funding. When funding opportunities arise, our group has a history of building strong teams to pursue those opportunities and leverage RD&D resources. This also provides stronger applicants to those funding agencies, like the CEC and DOE, that are developing funding opportunities. Finally, the RD&D team takes an agile approach to project selection that allows us to move quickly and respond to funding opportunities or changes in the research landscape. Now let's briefly cover the process we use to select RD&D projects. RD&D staff identify project concepts through a number of pathways, including working with SoCalGas operations teams to identify needs or technology gaps, engaging with the research community through public forums like today's workshop, and by coordinating with other utilities and research groups through our participation in research consortia. If you'd like to propose a project, technology, or product for SoCalGas RD&D Consider, we recommend following these steps. First, connect with the relevant program lead. If you're not sure, email us at rddinfo@socalgas.com and we can direct you to the correct program. The program lead will help evaluate your proposal in consideration of the elements of a good RD&D project. Once you've refined your proposal, submit it to the project lead who will carry it through our internal project approval process. More detailed information about our project selection process will be included in the 2024 research plan. Now let's briefly cover the proposed 2024 research plan. First, we'll all get a short lesson on the regulatory framework for investor-owned utilities in California. The General Rate Case, or GRC, is a proceeding used to address the costs of operating and maintaining the utility system and how those costs are allocated across various customer classes. SoCalGas submitted the 2024 GRC application in 2022. A proposed decision is currently expected in Q2 of 2024. The new GRC will cover the years 2024 through 2027 and will establish the overall budget for SoCalGas RD&D. The 2024 research plan we are covering today will outline how SoCalGas RD&D will allocate those funds across programs and subprograms. For more information about the GRC, use this link to visit the 2024 General Rate Case page on the SoCalGas website. To build the RD&D research plan, staff consider multiple factors, including regulatory and policy drivers, ratepayer or customer needs, input from stakeholders across the energy research landscape, and the subject matter expertise of the RD&D team and SoCalGas. State policy is a key driver for RD&D. We also consider federal rules, regional regulations, and local initiatives when developing our research plan. As you can see, we track a large number of regulatory drivers that impact RD&D efforts. We will review these in a little more detail in each of the individual program presentations. To better understand industry trends, eliminate duplication of effort, and foster breakthrough collaboration, SoCalGas RD&D conducts an annual outreach campaign. This year's campaign sought input about research needs and technology gaps and posed a series of questions designed to spark an open conversation about energy research and development. We received input from members of 11 industry organizations, including GTI Energy, the California Energy Commission, and the U.S. Department of Energy. SoCalGas RD&D uses input from these meetings to inform the developments of the research plan. A few of the key themes from our discussion include the importance of partnering with other researchers, focusing on technologies that have the potential to scale, and engaging with under-resourced communities. I'd like to thank the subject matter experts that took the time to share their views with us this year. For the 2024 RD&D research plan, we are proposing this funding allocation. The total authorized budget is subject to approval of SoCalGas's general rate case application A22-05-015, which proposed $23 million for the 2024 year. Now let's open it up to questions from the audience. You can submit your questions through the GoToWebinar question box or raise your hand using the GoToWebinar controls. We do ask that you limit your questions to 1 minute. We encourage all attendees to provide written comments after the workshop through our online comment form. Scan the QR code shown here or use the link. This presentation is available in your handouts today. I recommend downloading it for future reference. Please submit your comments by Friday, May 5th. So the first question I see is, where can I find the attendee packet? So that the handouts should be available within the GoToWebinar interface. Depending on what system you're using, there should be a button. There's either a control panel that says handouts or a button that maybe looks like a set of documents. And if you click on that, you should be able to see 4 documents in the handouts today. So the next question is, what's your RD&D plan for line pipe for the Angeles Link gaseous hydrogen pipeline? The Angeles Link proposal is managed outside of the RD&D program. So we are not participating in that activity. For more information about the Angeles Link proposal, I recommend checking the SoCalGas website. All right, another question about the handout, so we can definitely check that out. What's your RD&D plan for repurposing existing natural gas pipelines for gaseous hydrogen service? All right, I'm just waiting to check in with the gas engineering team on that question. But while we wait on that, does your regulator allow you to support RD&D of natural gas fired technologies? Currently, yes, we are conducting research on natural gas fired technologies that would fall under the Clean Energy Applications program. And we can learn more about the specific research areas later on in the workshop. Another question, does your RD&D program fund pilot programs for high TRL technologies? I would say yes, we fund research across the entire TRL spectrum. How do you arrive at the percentage funding allocation proposed? So when we build the proposed budget for the research plan, we look at a couple of different things. The first is we look at the funding required for contracted or ongoing projects. So how much money have we already committed to certain programs and sub-programs based on projects that are active and will continue into the next calendar year. And then we look at the research areas, and based on our subject matter expertise and our experience conducting RD&D projects, we forecast rough estimates for how much funding we would like to allocate given the types of projects that we would imagine would fall under those research areas. So there's a question about the UC Riverside report regarding hydrogen blending impacts, and the question is, what is SoCalGas's response to this? We're not going to respond to that question on today's workshop. We're going to focus on the RD&D research plan for 2024. And then a comment regarding a World Gas Conference paper on the risks of repurposing natural gas pipelines for hydrogen service. And thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely take a look. I think that is an area that definitely requires additional research. Okay, well, we are out of time for this Q&A session. Reminder, there will be additional time at the end of the workshop for questions and comments. Now, as you know, safety is a priority at SoCalGas, and April is National Safe Digging Month. With spring springing and the weather warming up, many of our customers are looking forward to doing some yard work or starting some home improvement projects. Before you do, please remember to call 811 before you dig.
You're so handsome as a construction worker.
Finally gonna install that basketball hoop that Diego's been begging for, but I have to dig up the driveway first.
Dig?
You can dig if you want to, but you must call 811. If you dig without making the call, it could be bad for everyone. A utilities under your property can be buried any place. So if you dig around, don't do it right. There could be thousands of fines to pay.
And keeps our neighborhood safe.
Okay. So what if I just want to dig in my yard? Just call 811 first?
It's a very simple process, and it's easy as doing the work.
And it's free!
Mark your spot, call
puede llamar al 811.
Take it away, Diego.
Diego, when did you learn how to DJ? Guys, all the singing and dancing is a lot. Enough. Okay, you have to call 811 to find out where underground utilities are before doing any digging around your home. I got it. I'm calling now.
You can dig. Everybody can dig. You just have to call 811 811.
Now I will hand the presentation over to Ethan Siminoff to cover the Clean and Renewable Energy Resources RD&D program.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ethan Siminoff, and I am a Technology Development Project Manager for the Clean and Renewable Energy Resources, one of the programs in SoCalGas RD&D department. Today, I'll briefly report on our activities during 2022 and give an overview of our subprograms, talk about our 2024 research plan. We'll be seeking feedback on our program and discussing historic and recent policies at both the state and federal level that help to drive our research goals. We'll also be discussing our proposed funding allocation for 2024. Before we dive in, I'd like to briefly introduce myself. I currently help manage the research portfolio in the Low Carbon Resources program. To clear up any confusion, I'd like to briefly point out here that SoCalGas RD&D is proposing changing the name of the Low Carbon Resources Program to Clean and Renewable Energy Resources in 2024, but we'll expand on that in a later slide. Prior to joining SoCalGas RD&D at the start of 2022, I worked as a research scientist and have over 10 years of research experience, which includes studying electrochemical systems relevant to solar energy conversion to renewable fuels. I received a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Northwestern University and received a PhD in chemistry from Caltech. The overall goal of the Clean and Renewable Energy Resources program is to decarbonize the gas supply while maintaining its affordability and reliability. To support this goal, our program seeks to develop, promote, and advance new and emerging technologies that can increase and expand the production of renewable gases such as hydrogen or renewable natural gas to displace conventionally sourced gas and eliminate new or remove legacy greenhouse gas emissions. In 2022, the Low Carbon Resources Program supported 33 projects. We contributed technical resources and $4,952,553 to these research, development, and demonstration efforts. We completed 8 projects and initiated 7 new projects. One example of a project we supported is shown here on the left. This image was taken at Caltech's Kirchhoff Marine Laboratory in Newport Beach, California, where a small-scale ocean-based carbon removal technology developed by the startup Captura was deployed and tested to generate operational experience and help improve performance of this technology operating under real ocean water conditions. For more information about this and other projects, please refer to the SoCalGas RD&D 2022 annual report, which is included in your handouts today in GoToWebinar. The projects supported by the Low Carbon Resources Program typically provide the following listed ratepayer benefits. For example, many projects in our research portfolio have the potential to greatly reduce greenhouse gas emissions, either directly through carbon management strategies such as direct air capture and other carbon dioxide removal, or indirectly by displacing conventional fuels with net carbon neutral or even net carbon negative production methods. Furthermore, our program seeks to advance and de-risk these technologies, which can improve overall affordability of a decarbonized energy grid. Here are several California policies related to the state's goals of decarbonization. The Low Carbon Resources Program sought to align our research plan with the policies of the state of California and develop technologies that can help achieve these goals. For example, AB 1279 establishes the policy of the state of California to achieve carbon neutrality by 2045 and reduce anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions by 85% below 1990 levels. In addition, this policy recommends identifying and implementing additional policies and strategies that can enable carbon dioxide removal and carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies, which can complement standard emission reduction approaches. One related policy, SB 905, establishes a regulatory framework for engineered carbon dioxide removal and carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or CCUS. It also requires the California Natural Resources Agency and California Public Utilities Commission to provide a proposal for a state framework for standards related to design, operation, siting, and maintenance of interstate pipelines carrying carbon dioxide. As I mentioned previously, SoCalGas RD&D is proposing changing the name of the Low Carbon Resources Program to Clean and Renewable Energy Resources. In addition, we propose simplifying the sub-program Carbon Capture, Utilization, and Sequestration to Carbon Management. The new C and RER program also proposes to continue supporting research under the sub-program entitled Renewable Gas Production. Next up, we'll dive a little deeper into each of these sub-programs. The first sub-program we'll discuss today is carbon management. There's broad consensus among scientists and policy experts that deploying carbon negative emissions technologies that can remove historic or legacy emissions directly from the atmosphere, such as direct air capture, will be necessary to achieve climate goals. The carbon management sub-program seeks to address technical gaps and accelerate development and deployment of carbon dioxide removal, carbon utilization, and carbon sequestration technologies. Some recent policy developments at the federal level in the area of carbon management are listed here. In particular, and recently, the Inflation Reduction Act passed in 2022 greatly expanded the 45Q tax credit incentive. Among other things, it extends the deadline for project construction and introduced direct pay provisions. Furthermore, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, which is an office in the U.S. Department of Energy, was created by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and recently announced the initial funding opportunities for the proposed 4 regional direct air capture hubs, which are each expected to have the capacity to capture, sequester, and/or utilize at least 1 million metric tons of CO2 from the atmosphere annually. The proposed research areas in the carbon management sub-program are listed here and include carbon capture and utilization, carbon capture and sequestration, or emissions-free hydrogen production via methane pyrolysis. Also shown on the right in this slide are a few projects supported by SoCalGas RD&D related to the carbon capture and carbon utilization research areas. SoCalGas RD&D has supported projects at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, where researchers have developed a solvent-based system that can integrate the capture and conversion of CO2 to various end products, including chemicals such as methane or methanol, or building materials, which can permanently or sequester CO2 for long duration. SoCalGas RD&D has also supported technology development from the company 12 to scale up their PEM-based CO2 electrolyzer from about 100 square centimeters to over 750 square centimeters. This technology can take CO2 and water and produce industrial feedstock to produce carbon neutral fuels or plastics. The second sub-program under the Clean and Renewable Energy Resources program is renewable gas production. This sub-program focuses on the safe, reliable, and cost-effective production of fuels such as hydrogen and renewable natural gas, or RNG, from multiple sources and using many different technological pathways. Similarly to carbon management, there have been several recent developments at the federal level that help RD&D staff to inform research directions and priorities. The Inflation Reduction Act includes a production tax credit for clean hydrogen production, up to $3 per kilogram, which depends on the carbon intensity of the fuel produced. In 2022, the DOE also issued a draft roadmap for the National Clean Hydrogen Strategy, to help inform both supply and demand side development for a hydrogen economy in the US. Finally, similar to the direct air capture hubs, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations also released funding opportunity announcements regarding the development of regional hydrogen hubs. The proposed research areas in the renewable gas production subprogram are listed here, and among others include hydrogen production via water splitting and advanced conversion methods, renewable natural gas production via biomethanation, and waste-derived gas production via biomass gasification. A couple of projects are also highlighted here on the right. SoCalGas RD&D supported deployment of an electrified steam methane reforming technology developed by STARS, which is being hosted at Sunline Transit Agency, a bus transportation agency in the Coachella Valley that employs a fleet of hydrogen fuel cell buses. Another project we initiated in 2022 with the startup company Evolo is focused on increasing manufacturing capacity of anion exchange membrane-based electrolyzer stacks and cells. This technology can use earth-abundant materials and catalysts to produce hydrogen and oxygen from pure water. Finally, listed here is our proposed funding allocation for 2024. Our funding percentages are unchanged from 2023, representing an even split between carbon management and renewable gas production subprograms. We are proposing a budget of $7.5 million to support research, development, and demonstration in these key areas. Thank you for your attention. Now I'd like to pause for any questions and answers related to this subprogram. Please feel free to enter any questions using the GoToWebinar question interface, and we'll do our best to answer. Additionally, there is a QR code and link on this slide that will take you to a survey where you can provide feedback on specific programs or the RD&D program as a whole. You can also submit questions in writing after the workshop has concluded. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thanks, Ethan. So one question is, are you taking into account the issues with carbon capture in disadvantaged communities, i.e. carbon is emitted in disadvantaged communities but captured elsewhere?
Thank you for the question. As part of our overall project selection process, we do consider where projects are sited and, historic greenhouse gas emissions or other pollution in different communities. So we do take into account that certain communities have been disadvantaged in terms of carbon emissions, and it is, especially for some of our projects that include scope that try to understand how deploying technologies in or near those communities may affect air quality in those areas. It is something we're interested in and try to take into consideration for any projects that do deploy those types of technologies.
All right, yeah, I think it's a really interesting question, particularly with respect to thinking about environmental and social justice communities. And it's one of these issues where locating the project outside of the community may be beneficial to the community, right? Because the emissions are sort of a global concern, but there are probably some local impacts that we need to consider. I think this is one of the open questions within our equity engagement activities, is how do we evaluate the benefits to an ESJ community of something like a direct air capture project that may be located a long distance from the ESJ community. And so we're definitely open to input or advice for how we can evaluate those kinds of global emissions or non-localized emissions impacts. Okay, how do you weigh the benefits of distributed CCUS versus centralized CCUS as a role or niche for utilities and ultimately SoCalGas RD&D?
Thanks for the question. I'd say that our approach in the RD&D group is to be relatively technology agnostic and just try to evaluate technologies based on their effectiveness in solving the specific issues. So in the case of distributed versus centralized CCUS, I think we evaluate a lot of these technologies based on the potential economic or energy efficiencies. And so, you know, if a technology looks to be effective, we don't really evaluate that in the framework of how it may impact the utility. I think our role in the RD&D group is really to just advance technology and help support technology development that can help the state meet those climate goals. But we definitely do consider, you know, how distributed solutions may be more or less effective or solve different problems than centralized CCUS technologies.
All right, thanks. Any other questions regarding clean and renewable energy resources? We do have a couple of minutes until we're scheduled. So we can go back. We did have a question. One of SoCalGas's customer benefits is improved affordability. Is it really? It is one of our the six benefits that RD&D looks at. Those benefits are available on slide 37 of the workshop presentation. If you'd like to download that, you can go back to slide 37 to review all of the customer benefits. And approved affordability is an important part of much of the research that we do, developing new technologies and advancing them to reduce the cost of those technologies to make them more affordable and so that they can be deployed widely in California to help California customers. I know we had a question about the handouts. I'm looking at the GoToWebinar interface on my iPad, and along the top of the screen, there are a couple of icons. There's sort of a gear. There are a couple of people, which I think is the announcements. There's a question mark, which is the questions tab. And then there's a little thing that looks like a piece of paper or a document. If you click on that, you should be able to see 4 PDF documents that are your handouts for today. We'll give it another minute for questions. I think our next session is a break, so we can break a little early for everybody to get up, walk around, get a drink of water, make sure you stay hydrated, practice your 20-20-20 exercise.
Paul writes, someone who is having an issue with the handouts say that in case anyone else does not have the handouts available to them for download, they appeared after restarting the GoToWebinar app. Thank you. Still a few minutes left for questions. If anyone has any questions about the Clean and Renewable Energy Resources Program. As Matt said, the next section will be a break. So if there are no more questions, we can start the break early.
Yeah, I know it looks like maybe some folks had some audio issues with the 811 video. We did put that into the chat, a link to YouTube. So if you'd like to view that video, you can click through to check that out. But yeah, I'm not seeing any additional questions or hands raised. So yeah, why don't we take a break?
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back from the break. I'm Ed Newton, and I'll be taking you through the Gas Operations Program overview. We'll be reviewing the 2022 results, review the overall program and the research areas for our research plan for 2024, and review the 2024 proposed funding allocation. To give you a little information about myself, I'm the Gas Engineering Programs Manager within the Gas Engineering Department at SoCalGas. I have 4 groups that report to me: the Gas Operations RD&D Program, our Leakage Abatement RD&D Program, and our Plastic Piping Systems and Aviation Services Department. I've been in the industry for 38 years, 21 years with Southern California Gas Company, working in gas engineering and system integrity. And prior to working for SoCalGas, I worked for a prominent manufacturing company that provided distribution piping products to the gas industry and developed a number of mechanical fittings and excess flow valves that are in use today within the industry. I've also led the efforts in regard to the natural gas leakage abatement program, coming from the SB 1371 Senate bill to reduce natural gas emissions from the local distribution companies in California. And I received, as a result of that work, the John B. Gowan Research Award in 2022 for efforts in developing aeromethane mapping technologies to reduce methane emissions from the environment. So just in way of introduction and overview, the Gas Operations RD&D program area supports gas pipeline delivery networks across the SoCalGas distribution, transmission, and storage systems, as well as supporting our customer service organization to research, development, and test new gas operations technologies that have benefit for our ratepayers. The goal of the program is to improve gas safety and system integrity, improve or enhance system reliability, enhance system design and materials, increase operational efficiencies and effectiveness, and reduce system emissions. Now you'll notice that as we go through the program, that the portion of the research funding that is intended to reduce natural gas emissions is separate from the current gas operations program due to the funding mechanism of that regulatory proceeding. Since a picture is worth 1,000 words, we have this image from courtesy of the American Gas Association showing the typical system delivery for a natural gas utility. We have approximately 3,046 miles of DOT gas transmission pipelines, and that's shown by the gray line in the transmission pipeline area. Of course, pipelines come in from the California-Mexican border. They go through compressor stations, and the gas is transmitted to underground storage facilities and large volume customers. The gas pipeline then transitions through city gates and under the regulator stations to the distribution network. And the distribution network for Southern California Gas Company serves over 6 million meters and 21 million customers within Southern California. It's made up of over 100,000 miles of distribution mains and services. And so it's a very large network within the system. And supporting that system, of course, is all of Southern California Gas Company employees and our subject matter experts. The program itself supports over 90 subject matter experts within the company that receive the results of the research programs and projects and help them to better do their jobs and also support the organization in terms of improving the integrity and reliability of the system, the safety of the system, and the reducing the emissions from the operations of the system. We conduct our work primarily partnering with 3 industry research consortiums. These research consortiums collaborate with various researchers across the industry, as well as the regulators such as DOT, PHMSA, and the California Energy Commission. OTD is a consortium that has 28 natural gas utilities. Membership is open to companies operating natural gas systems, both domestically and internationally. PRCI is a pipeline membership company. It's open to natural gas transmission and other energy pipeline companies, both domestic and international. And their mission is to collaborate and deliver relevant and innovative applied research to continually improve the global energy system. And there are 13 natural gas utilities within PRCI. NiSearch is primarily focused with membership in US and Canada, and they have 23 natural gas utilities, and their mission is to create and sustain collaborative consortia that are driven to innovate and deploy safe and efficient, reliable technologies that benefit customers, communities, and the natural gas industry. Within the gas operations RD&D program, these organizations develop proposals, and between these organizations, other research organizations, as well as PHMSA, the CEC, and academic organizations, the gas operations RD&D program evaluates approximately 150 project proposals per year. And so there's a lot of ideas that are generated through these organizations, as well as collaboration between natural gas system operators across the nation. In 2022, SoCalGas funded 162 projects active within the gas operations RD&D portfolio. We completed 54 projects in 2022, initiated 31 projects, and out of the completed projects, we had 16 projects that moved on to implementation within the organization, where the results were leveraged by the SMEs that the program supports. And expenditures in 2022 was $3.2 million. As had been previously mentioned by Matt, the program tracks 6 different program benefits across the projects that we fund. And so each project has these 6 benefits identified as either whether or not the benefit is a potential benefit of the results of the project. And so each project can have more than one benefit, which is why the percentages don't add up to 100%. And also mentioned previously, the reduced greenhouse gas emissions is relatively low, again, because the natural gas emissions projects are currently not part of the gas operations program and under the leakage abatement mitigation program. Gas operations, of course, has many regulatory requirements that we're required to meet, and many requirements that are in development between the federal requirements and state requirements. This is a list of some of the main requirements that we are currently supporting through research projects. As part of the feedback that we're seeking, if there are other regulations that are in the works or that is known to be developed, we would appreciate that type of feedback so that we can identify the need for any additional research in order to support meeting the requirements for those programs. The gas operations program is divided up into 4 sub-program areas of environmental and safety, operations technology, system design and materials, and system inspection and monitoring. And these are broad areas for us to organize the research projects under. And we'll be going through the key research areas for each of these program areas and discuss these in a little more detail. The first area of environmental and safety advances the environmental integrity of the pipeline network and the safety of those who live and work in proximity to it. And so projects in this area are focused on any type of environmental impact that's related to our natural gas operations of our system, as well as safety benefits. As an example, the Smart Shutoff System is a project that was actually brought to the OTD Research Consortium as an idea to advance the excess flow valve technology, natural gas shutoff technology, and move towards more of a sharp, smart type shutoff device. And so that initiated with an idea brought to OTD, which was then developed with commercializers. The CEC then picked up the project within their GFO to further develop the technology and expand the idea to communication of the shutoff device with smart sensors in the home and developing the communication network that was necessary to support that technology. And that work is still in progress. And of course, that work has both environmental and safety benefits. The safety benefit, of course, is shutting off, the gas system when a gas leak is sensed, and then that also has the benefit of reducing system emissions. The key research areas that we're focused on for 2024 are researching environmental concerns related to pipeline operations, such as the effects of increasing operating temperature due to climate change, advancing technologies to address post-combustion criteria pollutants and emissions and fugitive greenhouse gas emissions, and protection from intentional and unintentional pipeline damage. Projects include developing advanced sensors and automatic shutoff systems for above and below ground piping systems. And of course, one of the major safety hazards to the natural gas system is still unintentional damage to our system. And of course, damage prevention is a key objective for improving the safety of the system. Depicted here in the pictures is a project that was developed in-house where we evaluated a 3D scanning technology to better evaluate failures of the plastic piping system and develop a 3-dimensional model in situ prior to removal of the failed portion of the pipeline in order to do a better analysis of the stresses involved and determine root cause of failures. The next section or subprogram is the operations technology area. This subprogram seeks to advance and develop techniques for pipeline construction, operation, maintenance, rehabilitation, and testing of gas pipelines and systems that facilitate continued safe and reliable service. An example of this is the enhanced locating technology for underground pipelines for better accuracy of locate and mark operations. in order to, and also to map the underground pipeline infrastructure and determine the depth of the pipeline in relation to other underground pipeline assets. The key research areas that we are focused on for 2024 are to advance technologies for pipeline repair of aging pipeline infrastructure, developing data acquisition systems to capture essential variables related to polyethylene pipe joining methods, improving pipeline locating and mapping technologies, such as enhancement of acoustic, electromagnetic, and ground penetrating radar systems to produce spatially accurate images of buried pipelines and substructures, and validating the capabilities of state-of-the-art gas sampling devices and measuring equipment to monitor natural gas composition and constituents, which is necessary as we continue to import and transport low carbon compositions of natural gas. The third area of the gas operations RD&D program is system design and materials. This sub-program area is focused on advancing pipeline materials and material science, such as component tracking and traceability of system materials, technical tools for designing pipeline systems and infrastructure for safety, reliability, and operational efficiency throughout the life cycle of pipeline assets. The key research areas that are focused on for 2024 are the identification of trace constituents and support establishment of upper limits for accepting RNG, and identifying barriers that could prevent the introduction of blending of 10 to 20% hydrogen into existing pipeline infrastructure. Another key focus area is to improve the understanding and implications of potential risk factors, such as stresses due to external forces, construction procedures, and operating environment, and analysis of state-of-the-art materials and coatings to identify those that can improve the longevity and thus the reliability of both newly installed and legacy pipelines. And shown here on the left are some examples of where projects for under system design and materials, where we're looking at the accuracy and variability of thermal zones affecting the metering of new gas supplies, and this is a NiSearch project. And below that is a PRCI project that's looking at commercially available online analyzers to measure multiple gas contaminants targeting renewable natural gas. The fourth area of the gas operations RD&D program is system inspection and monitoring. And this sub-program is focused on identifying and developing sensors and data science to monitor, analyze, and inspect the SoCalGas system to prevent or rapidly respond to system issues. The key research areas under this sub-program area are to improve sensitivity of electromagnetic acoustic transducers technologies capable for detecting cracks in pipe wall and long seam welds, and to measure remaining wall thickness. And that's one of the pigging technologies and the sensors that are associated with pipeline pigging. Another key research area is the remote inspection and monitoring systems in general, to monitor the health of the piping system and advancement of inspection and monitoring devices and sensors. The third area is to improve monitoring of natural force damage threats, such as landslides, floods, and seismic-induced impacts on pipeline integrity. And of course, the geohazard threats continue to have an impact on the natural gas system as the effects of climate change are realized. And so this is an area of particular interest. And then fourth, to develop analytical models to support predictive and preventive system management objectives. And of course, preventing problems is one of the key objectives of our system integrity management programs, as well as gas engineering objectives. So the proposed funding for 2024 allocation is shown here. We have system design and materials at 40% of our budget, system inspection and monitoring behind that at 25%, and then 20% for environmental and safety and 15% for operations technologies. As the opportunity to transport higher percentages of clean molecules advances, we see the need to focus more attention initially on system design and materials in order to support those changes in our system that are necessary to support that objective. And then, of course, system inspection and monitoring continues to have a lot of promise in terms of helping to monitor and maintain the system in a proactive and preventive manner. And then, of course, environmental and safety and operations technology. And we see that in future years, this could very easily shift as some of the due diligence is achieved around the blending of renewable natural gas and hydrogen into the system are realized. And so with that, we will go to questions.
So Ed, I believe there's one question that came in. It looks like there's two questions that you can answer. The first one is, are there any RD&D plans to find solutions to quickly accelerate the flow of natural gas to natural gas power plants for reliability? There, it goes on, but that's the basic of the question.
I'm sorry, can you read the question again, Karen?
Are there any RD&D plans to find solutions to quickly accelerate the flow of natural gas to natural gas power plants for reliability support of the electric grid during evening ramps when solar drops and electricity demand rises?
So I'm not aware of any constraints in the demand supply of natural gas to power plants in order to meet their needs. If that is an issue of concern, perhaps you could provide some more details, and then we can look at, whether or not there is any research necessary in order to address that type of an issue.
Okay, thank you. And the next question that came in is, could you decode what transportation of clean molecules means?
Sure. As the renewable natural gas is introduced onto the system from a variety of sources, right, that introduces additional operational issues that need to be addressed from an engineering system integrity perspective, as well as gas quality monitoring perspective. And so from an operations perspective, right, as the composition of the gas changes that's transported to the system, there are a variety of operational needs in order to make sure that the gas is transported safely and reliably to the customers. And so that's kind of the overall objective. And of course, there's a variety of perspectives from an operational view that need to be addressed in order to make sure that the system is safe and reliable for the customers.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, whoops, they just scrolled on me. We have a follow-up question that I'm going to skip ahead on the one that you just answered. Just to confirm, to follow up on the clean molecules, it relates only to methane then, is the question.
It can be methane or hydrogen blending.
Okay, thank you.
Any clean strategy for reducing carbon emissions.
Theo, did that answer your question completely? Okay, guess so. Sorry, my screen keeps scrolling on me. Does SoCal have data analytics to support new or potential predictive maintenance systems?
The company has developed a number of data analytics models. Of course, the system integrity management program, focuses on the integrity of the system, and data, of course, drives that analysis. And that this is an area where, of course, we see that there is more potential to do research and to continue to develop means of predicting and preventing pipeline leaks and incidents, or just monitoring the health of the infrastructure across the system to make sure that it's maintained at the optimum time as equipment wears and maintenance is required.
Okay, thank you. And Ted, I'm going to skip your dollar question because there was a question, Ed, on total budget request for 2024, and I believe that's for the total RD&D program, but maybe you can just restate what the gas operations funding for 2024 is.
Sure, I backed up on the slides. So the plan for 2024 is just under $4 million. It's part of the overall budget, and I think it was 22%, if I remember right, of the overall RD&D program budget.
Okay, thank you. And Matt, can you speak to the total?
Yeah, so the GRC request is available on our website. I'll put a link in the chat, and the request for RD&D for test year 2024 is $23,249,000.
Thank you.
Over the GRC cycle.
For test year 2024.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Could you elaborate on the different projects being undertaken or conducted around hydrogen blending in existing gas infrastructure? And if I can actually answer this one, Ed, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So in the chat, we have posted a link to our 2022 annual report. And within that report in the appendices, we actually have summaries of all of the research that was active within 2022, which includes a large number that are focused on hydrogen blending. So I would refer you to that report. And if you have any follow-up questions, just send it via the QR code or email to us, and we'd be glad to follow up. Thank you. Okay, so next question, I'm looking for, Ed, you mentioned one of your key research areas is to advance technologies for operation and repair of aging pipeline infrastructure. What aging infrastructure is your focus?
So the company currently within the piping system for distribution has both unprotected steel and vintage plastic materials in the system. Those are of particular interest for technologies related to managing that portion of the infrastructure. We also have a variety of other materials that I can't speak to specifically off the top of my head, but within you know, our stations and other facilities, there may also be some other components that are of particular interest. One thing that comes to mind is advanced meter technologies that we are looking at evaluating to replace the traditional displacement type meters with more advanced smart meter technology.
Okay, thank you. And we do have a number of questions. We only have 1 minute left. So we will respond following the workshop if we don't get to your questions. We do have one hand raised from Amanda Krantz. So if you can go ahead and come off mute, Amanda. You're off mute, Amanda, but we cannot hear you. If you're calling in versus from a computer, you won't be able to unmute and you'll have to type your question.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, Amanda Krantz from the CPUC. I'm curious, I kind of put this in the chat so you can skip over this when you get it, but I'm curious about how the high gas prices of the last year, we know that some of it had to do with system integrity, pipeline explosions, if that's affected any of the research that you're conducting in the gas operations, and if so, if you could elaborate a bit on maybe new projects, new ideas.
Yeah, I don't think we've connected the research activities with the gas rates because the mechanisms are a little bit disconnected. So I would say that, you know, from a research program perspective, right, they're longer term projects and objectives, and they have general benefits to the ratepayers in terms of reducing operational costs for those projects that have that benefit. And so it's more a case where you have this cost avoidance or ongoing implementation of technologies and results from the research that help to reduce costs and prevent you know, future cost increases, because we're able to reduce the operating costs or maintain the operating costs and not having those increases. And so there is a, you know, a timing disassociation between those events that occurred this year.
And we do also have research that's underway supporting our system integrity and reliability, because you also spoke to that. And it's as Ed said, it was underway. We continually strive to do things more efficiently and get more details and such. And so that also is happening.
I mean, I think it's a really interesting question, and the premise is that the costs are highly correlated to pipeline integrity, and that's not my understanding. My understanding is that recent cost increases were more related to global energy market price changes. So, Amanda, if you have additional information that you could share with the team regarding the drivers for those cost increases, we'd be really interested to take a look at those. But then I will say that we do need to move on to the next section. But as I will remind everyone, we do have additional time at the end of the workshop, so we'll try to circle back and cover any of the questions that we missed during this session.
Yep, thank you for your participation, and I will now hand it off to the next presenter.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Chase, and I will be presenting the Clean Transportation Program today. I'll be starting with an introduction to the program, as well as providing a brief recap of 2022, and then I'll discuss the 3 sub-programs in a bit more detail, getting into some of the drivers, as well as some of the proposed research areas. And finally, I'll conclude with the proposed funding allocations for 2024. And like the other programs today, we'll have some time at the end for any feedback or questions. So like I mentioned, my name is Jeff Chase, and I'm the lead for the Clean Transportation RD&D program. As of March, I've been with SoCalGas for 12 years. And in that time, I've had a variety of roles across the company, from engineering in our distribution organization, to supervising field crews, to managing large capital projects in our pipeline safety enhancement plan. For the past 4 years, I've been on the RD&D team, previously managing what was called the Clean Generation Program for 3 years, before transitioning to the Transportation Program about a year ago. I have my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Cal Poly Pomona, and I'm also a licensed PE here in California, also in mechanical engineering. So to get into the Clean Transportation Program, the Clean Transportation RD&D program focuses on minimizing environmental impacts related to the transportation sector, particularly through the integration of hydrogen. And some of the primary goals of the program include developing cost-competitive, zero-emission transportation technologies that meet the robust operating requirements of the users, and advancing onboard fuel storage capabilities and refueling infrastructure for alternative fuels such as hydrogen. In 2022, the Clean Transportation Program spent approximately $1.8 million across 32 active projects. We started 6 new projects and completed 3. The project shown here is one of this year's spotlight projects from the 2022 annual report, and one that you may have heard of in the past, especially if you follow us on LinkedIn. And that is the fuel cell yard truck demonstration at the Port of Los Angeles. This project is managed by GTI Energy and is being funded by CARB, with co-funding from SoCalGas RD&D, as well as in-kind support from the project partners. The goal of this project was to design, build, and demonstrate 2 fuel cell yard trucks. For those who aren't familiar with yard trucks, there are over 1,000 yard trucks operating all day, every day at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. And the current diesel trucks are responsible for the single largest source of emissions in all classifications of cargo handling equipment at the ports. So these emissions, combined with very rigorous duty cycles of these trucks, made yard trucks a good target to develop a hydrogen fuel cell solution for. The team was able to successfully build and deploy the 2 trucks. And like all pre-commercial demonstration projects, there were some challenges that had to be overcome, but overall, the project has been largely successful. The trucks are able to perform as expected, and one anecdote from the operators was that they appreciated not going home at the end of the day smelling like diesel exhaust. And in addition, Capacity, who built the trucks, is already using some of the lessons learned from this project to develop a second version of these trucks. This project is about wrapped up, and GTI Energy is in the process of analyzing the data and producing a final report. And if you're interested in learning more about this project, we'll actually be hosting an RD&D webinar in May, where GTI will be going into a bit more depth. So projects within the Clean Transportation Program can actually address all 6 of our target benefits, with the 2 key benefits really being reduced GHG emissions and improved air quality through the development and demonstration of new zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell vehicle technologies across a variety of use cases. In addition, safety and improved affordability are also incredibly important factors within this program. The Clean Transportation Program is dedicated to developing new technologies that support California's environmental and air quality goals. And there are several policies in place that address emissions from the transportation sector. And a few of those policies are shown here. As most of you are likely aware, Executive Order N79-20 requires that all new passenger vehicles sold in California be zero emission by 2035. And this executive order also requires that medium and heavy duty vehicles be zero emission by 2045, and even requires that the transition of off-road vehicles and equipment to zero, off-road vehicles and equipment to zero emission by 2035 where feasible. So this executive order is essentially, the overarching list of goals and targets, and then several regulations that either have already been adopted or are in development, such as the Clean Cars and Clean Fleets regulations, serve as the mechanisms to achieve the goals shown here. And the Clean Transportation program really strives to execute projects that demonstrate new technologies that help our ratepayers achieve all of these goals. So in order to support those goals and to address all of the benefits that I mentioned, the Clean Transportation program is broken up into 3 subprograms. Those subprograms are on-road, off-road, and refueling infrastructure. On and off-road are pretty self-explanatory, but we'll get into the details of those shortly. I just wanted to note that the refueling infrastructure subprogram is new this year. This subprogram covers all of the work that was previously split between 2 separate subprograms, onboard storage and refueling stations. And the reason we combine these subprograms into one is because they're so closely related. Fueling protocols are dependent on both the properties of the vehicle and the dispenser, and so it just made sense for these technologies to advance in tandem within the same subprogram, making sure that new onboard storage technologies are compliant with new dispensing technologies and vice versa. So moving on to the details for each subprogram, first up is on-road. The on-road subprogram seeks to develop and demonstrate new zero-emission on-road transportation solutions, and these projects aim to help fleets and individuals achieve emissions reductions while being able to meet the operational needs of the users. And you could see in the image on the right from the US National Blueprint for Transportation Decarbonization that hydrogen is expected to play a role in helping decarbonize many transportation sectors, the highest of which is actually long-haul heavy-duty trucks. So some of the research areas we've identified to help achieve the goals of this subprogram include zero-emission hydrogen medium and heavy-duty trucks to serve in demanding duty cycles and longer routes, zero-emission light-duty hydrogen vehicles to meet the demands of utility and emergency service fleets, and autonomous vehicles and/or advanced routing solutions to reduce emissions and increase safety and reliability. And the chart on the right is from the DOE, and it covers some of the hydrogen Class 8 long-haul truck targets, which are essentially the metrics that new hydrogen Class 8 trucks need to strive to in order to be able to successfully replace the current diesel options. So these are just some of the technical targets that we look at in order to help vehicle manufacturers achieve through our projects. And one example of a project that falls under the subprogram is a demonstration project that we're helping fund, and that is a fuel cell electric delivery van demonstration with UPS. And that project is being led by the Center for Transportation and the Environment, or CTE, and UT Austin Center for Electromechanics. And this project is just starting the demonstration phase now and will deploy 15 fuel cell electric vehicles in and around Ontario, California. So far, UPS has deployed at least 100 battery electric vans, but those vans have only been able to meet the range requirements of about 70% of UPS's routes. So with the ability to cover longer ranges, the goal for these fuel cell vans will be to meet the operational requirements for the remaining 30% of routes for UPS. Moving on to the off-road subprogram. The purpose of this subprogram is to develop zero-emission off-road transportation solutions. particularly around achieving emissions reductions from off-road vehicles such as trains, ocean-going vessels, construction equipment, and cargo handling equipment, and also looking to explore opportunities for hydrogen for hydrogen-fueled aviation applications. And as you can see on the chart on the right, from CARB's mobile source strategy, there's a growing importance for emissions reductions in off-road. As the chart shows, we've made massive reductions in on-road NOx emissions, but that just means that it's time to start cutting away from the emissions from the off-road applications, which has remained fairly steady for the past 15 years, you can see. So there's definitely a clear opportunity to develop new zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell alternatives in this space. So some of the research areas we've identified for the off-road subprogram include zero-emission locomotives for goods and people movement, zero-emission ocean-going vessels and harbor craft, zero-emission construction and agricultural equipment, and zero-emission aircraft and ground service equipment for airports. And the image on the right really just further emphasizes the need and opportunity for emissions reductions across all of the off-road use cases. This chart shows mobile NOx emissions within the South Coast Air Basin, and you can see that whether regulated or not, off-road sources make up more than half of the pie. And then just one example of a project in this sub-program would actually be the yard truck project I mentioned earlier, but another project would be a hydrogen fuel cell switcher locomotive demonstration that we're participating in, and it's being led by GTI Energy with a great group of project partners and funding from the CEC. And that project is taking a switcher locomotive that was originally built in the 70s and repowered in 2007 with its current diesel package, and replacing the diesel engine with a hydrogen fuel cell system and batteries. The onboard hydrogen storage for that system will be gaseous, and it's going to be sized to only require refueling once a week. And by replacing diesel with hydrogen for this application, this project is expected to eliminate 112 tons of CO2 annually. So the third and last subprogram I want to cover is refueling infrastructure. This subprogram targets the development, demonstration, and deployment of technologies and systems that support refueling with alternative fuels, including gaseous and liquid hydrogen. And remember, this subprogram now covers both sides of the refueling equation, from the station to the vehicle. And some of the research areas we've identified for the refueling infrastructure subprogram include fast fill refueling technologies to achieve hydrogen fill rates comparable to diesel, easily deployable hydrogen fueling solutions to enable new vehicle demonstrations, and advanced onboard hydrogen storage technologies to improve fuel storage capacity, weight, performance, and safety. And similar to the mileage and cost metrics that were a few slides back from the DOE has also identified fueling targets in order for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles to be on par with current diesel technologies. And those are the targets that you can see on the top of the screen. And then you could also see that these targets are really being used across the industry, because the chart on the bottom is from a recent CEC funding opportunity for mobile refuelers. And you can see that the targets are similar, particularly around achieving that greater than 8 kilogram per minute fueling rate. And one example of a project in this subprogram is a DOE-funded project at NREL that we're participating in, where NREL is working with a group of industry advisors to develop and test a new fueling protocol. Fueling protocols are responsible for the safe fueling of any hydrogen fuel cell vehicle because they dictate how much and how fast to deliver hydrogen to a vehicle. And there is currently no standard protocol for medium and heavy-duty vehicles to use high-flow receptacles. So NREL is using the MC formula method, which is specified in the SAE standard for light-duty fueling, as the framework for this new protocol for medium and heavy-duty vehicles. And once the new protocol is developed, NREL is going to test and validate that protocol on a heavy-duty dispenser prior to implementing it into SAE standards. So now that I've covered all of the work that falls under these 3 subprograms, here are the proposed funding allocations for 2024. We're proposing to spend approximately $4,470,000 across all clean transportation projects, with on and off-road receiving the same amount and refueling infrastructure just slightly less. So that covers all of clean transportation. I think we probably have 10 or 15 minutes until the next session, so I'd be happy to take any questions or feedback that you may have related to clean transportation. Please submit questions in the GoToMeeting questions box or raise your hand in the GoToWebinar controls, and please limit your responses to 1 minute. And if you would like to submit comments after today's webinar, you can do so by using either the QR code or URL shown here. Do you have any questions?
All right, Jeff. Here's a question. My understanding is that compression costs render liquid hydrogen an uneconomic option, and there is no conceivable RD&D proposal to reduce these costs. Can you address this?
Sure. So on the benefits slide, I mentioned that, improved affordability is definitely a target. And a lot of these technologies are cost prohibitive early on. And so that's definitely one of the goals of the research programs and the research projects that we participate in is, to take some of this early stage technologies or even expensive technologies and help reduce the costs, either through new technologies that bring those costs down, or achieving a certain volume of technologies in order to achieve some sort of cost compression. I do know that there's a lot of kind of recent work and interest in subcooled liquid hydrogen, and that's something that I'm very interested in. And if anybody is on the call looking into that, I'd love to chat more about that. But yeah, that's definitely something we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Agreed. And I would just follow on and say that if there is some research or information to support this premise that liquid hydrogen is uneconomic, we'd really appreciate if you could share that with the RD&D team. It's something that we'd want to look at and consider strategically. But yeah, there has been some recent news about using a number of vendors looking at liquid hydrogen for onboard storage to extend the range of long-haul trucks. So I think there's definitely additional questions in that space. Next question is from the proposed allocation. Can you share what has been assigned and what is still available?
I would have to, so keep in mind, these are the proposed allocations for 2024. And so there's a lot of projects that have not been contracted, and we're definitely looking at bringing on new projects. I think we'd have to evaluate on a per project basis. We'd have to kind of dig into the analytics to see what is already committed from existing projects, but reach out if you have a project in mind.
Great, thanks. We have a couple of minutes left. I'm not seeing any hands raised, but I'll give everybody another minute for questions. I guess since we have a minute, I had been scrolling through the attendee list and wanted to just recognize that we have attendees from a number of organizations here, including the California Energy Commission, the California Public Utilities Commission, National Renewable Energy Lab, Argonne National Lab. We've got some utilities like PG&E and LADWP. So really interesting mix of attendees today. And thank you all for taking the time to join us. All right, let's see. A recent UK government report concluded the following. Hydrogen doesn't trap heat directly the way CO2 does. Instead, when leaked, it sets off a series of chemical reactions that warm the air, acting as an indirect greenhouse gas. And though it cycles out of the atmosphere far faster than carbon dioxide, which lingers for more than centuries, it can do more damage than CO2 in the short term. Over 20 years, it has 33 times the global warming potential of an equal amount of carbon dioxide. And the question is, does SoCalGas agree? I think before we can make a comment on whether we agree, I'd want to review that research in greater depth, but it is my understanding that hydrogen is an indirect greenhouse gas, and that it has fairly complicated atmospheric chemistry that you need to consider. And that's why it's really important to continue to conduct research to reduce leakage and boil off when we are looking at hydrogen applications. And it looks like the attendee shared a link, so thank you for providing that, and we'll definitely review it. Appreciate the information. All right, another question. Do you perceive a need for novel line pipe RD&D highly resistant to HE, HCC, perhaps a hybrid polymer? And I'll just say, if you have technology that you'd like to share with the RD&D program, please feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at rddinfo@socalgas.com, or you can reach out to the individual program leads that are presenting today. We're always interested in learning about new technologies that can help California achieve its ambitious climate goals. We have a couple of minutes left. Let's give everybody another minute, and then Jeff, I believe we have a break coming up, so we can always break a little early. Let's give the group another minute. All right, not seeing any additional hands raised or questions in the question box. Why don't we take a break, and we will return at 12 o'clock.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back from the break. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alan Loam, and I am the project manager for the RD&D Clean Energy Applications program. I'm excited to share with you the details of my program, including today's program agenda. I will be turning off my web camera now to accommodate some of our guests that may be limited by bandwidth issues. We will begin today with a presentation overview. As you can see in the slide, we will cover program-specific information for the Clean Energy Applications portfolio, the proposed 2024 funding allocation, and wrap up this portion of the presentation by collecting stakeholder feedback. I'd like to spend a little bit of time introducing myself. As I mentioned, my name is Alan Leung. I currently lead our SoCalGas's Clean Energy Applications RD&D program. I joined SoCalGas in 2020 from the California Air Resources Board, where I spent 6 years leading agency-wide compliance activities concerning vehicle emissions regulation, test procedures, and case development in coordination with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I have been with the RD&D team for the past 3 years now, specializing on residential, commercial, and industrial applications. I hold a bachelor's in environmental engineering from the University of California, Merced, a master's in civil engineering from the University of Southern California, and an MBA from the University of North Carolina, Keenan Flagler School of Business, with a double concentration in strategy and innovation. Here is an overview of our Clean Energy Applications RD&D program. For 2024, we propose to consolidate 2 program areas, which were formerly known as clean generation and customer end-use applications, into the new program, Clean Energy Applications, to enhance program synergies. The Clean Energy Applications program focuses on the development and demonstration of highly efficient and low-emission technologies associated with the stationary utilization of gas fuels for power and thermal applications. Our goal is to improve technology efficiencies, reduce emissions, lower costs, and improve reliability for our utility customers. For the 2022, the Clean Energy Applications program oversaw 112 active projects, kicked off 13 new projects, and 25 projects were completed, resulting in $3,470,467 spent on research, technology development, and field demonstrations focused on residential, commercial, and industrial applications. Many of the projects within the Clean Energy Applications program provide several ratepayer benefits, such as energy reliability, safety, operational efficiency, improved affordability, reduced GHG emissions, and improved air quality. These benefits act as our North Star for the program and the projects we develop and oversee. The Clean Energy Applications program aligns and conforms with both the state and federal decarbonization goals. I have outlined some of the primary policy drivers for each sub-program within the CEA program. I won't read all of them since they are here for you to review at your convenience, but I will review some of them, including the bipartisan infrastructure law for the Industrial Operations Subprogram, 2022 Air Quality Management Plan for the Residential and Commercial Subprogram, and SB 1339 Microgrids for Increased Energy Reliability. For 2024, the Clean Energy Applications program consists of 3 subprograms, which are Energy Reliability, Residential and Commercial Applications, and Industrial Operations. As you can see to the right, Energy Reliability aims to develop and enhance distributed generation technologies and control systems that integrate diverse generation resources and thermal loads. For the Residential and Commercial subprogram, it aims to develop and enhance technologies related to gas consumption and end uses in the building space, which also includes the food service sector. And lastly, for the Industrial Operations subprogram, it aims to develop advanced heating technologies and systems for use in industrial sector. Some examples include food processing, manufacturing, cement, chemicals, drying, and agriculture. The first subprogram we will cover is Energy Reliability. This subprogram seeks to develop and enhance distributed generation and control systems technologies that provide energy resiliency and affordability to customers. As shown on the right, data from the Department of Energy illustrates a rising trend in power outages in the state of California. And so to help ensure customer can maintain reliable power at all times, an area of focus will be integration of diverse distributed generation resources and storage technologies in the form of microgrids using RNG and hydrogen. Microgrids have the ability to provide highly reliable and resilient electricity to customers by enabling them to be partially or completely independent of the electric grid when needed. Some research areas within this subprogram that help provide energy resiliency and affordability to customers include the development of small-scale fuel cell systems, development of low-emission backup generation, and the development of hydrogen integration in power generation and storage technologies. The image to the right is a good example of an integration of diverse distributed generation resources such as fuel cell, gas-fired microturbines, combined heat and power, and control system technologies in a microgrid setup. The second sub-program we will cover is the residential and commercial applications. This sub-program develops and enhances technologies and advancements related to consumption and end uses in the building space. Some relatable examples include water heaters, space heaters, and stoves. This year, we brought on board a management consultant to support us with our research planning. Darcy Partners identified several building efficiency opportunities and recommendations for SoCalGas, and you can see some of those recommendations to the chart on the right. For 2024, the sub-program research area include commercial food service burner improvements, hydrogen blending applications, catalytic burner for near zero emissions, and building envelope improvements. On the right, we have outlined some technology solutions based on near and long term for building decarbonization that we are collaborating with through UTD. UTD, or Utilization Technology Development, is a not-for-profit scientific research consortia comprised of 20 natural gas distribution company members that direct near-term applied research to develop, test, and demonstrate safe, energy-efficient, environmentally friendly, and cost-effective end-use technologies to benefit the 37+ million gas customers in North America. This is just one of the many ways we engage our stakeholders and research community. For this slide, I'd like to spend a little bit more time on the topic of hydrogen blending applications. The RD&D team would like to continue our research in hydrogen blending research for building decarbonization. We believe that this area of research is invaluable because smaller scale systems, such as is seen in the residential commercial space, affords flexibility and cost benefits. Additionally, the lessons learned can be extrapolated into the industrial applications. And therefore, we'd like to seek feedback from our stakeholders to ensure that we are aligned with California's building decarbonization goal. On the right is a recently published paper by GTI Energy, supported by the Clean Energy Applications Program, highlighting early laboratory and field measurements up to 30% hydrogen blending on common gas-fired building appliances. For the last sub-program, we have industrial operations. The purpose of the sub-program is to develop technologies and advancements related to gas consumption in the industrial space. The figure on the right by the EIA shows just how important tackling the industrial sector is on a CO2 emissions by sector comparison. For the industrial operations subprogram, the 2024 research area include point source carbon capture, distributed hydrogen production for industrial applications, thermal energy storage, combustion enhancement, industrial process innovation, and combined heat and power systems. As mentioned this year, Darcy Partners assisted us with our research planning. You can see the results of that work to the illustrations on the right. They evaluated over 500 climate tech technologies from the IEA's Clean Energy Technology Guide, identified 150 of them to be aligned with SoCalGas's customer decarbonization goals, and applied a BCG matrix to identify areas of research, which is to the chart to the top right. 34 technologies were then identified as having high potential for R&D investment, which is the region shaded in the green. Of those 34 technologies, 19 technology categories remained after bundling across industry segments served by SoCalGas to understand the decarbonization potential in our service territory. Ultimately, we mapped out the technologies with high propensity for decarbonization that serve our customers. This map is provided on the bottom right. For this illustration, you can see that the y-axis is the percentage of SoCalGas's customer gas sales affected, while the x-axis is TRL. There is some level of art in deciphering this, but as you can see, certain technology themes are prevalent. Those technology themes are carbon capture, utilization, and storage, distributed hydrogen production, and thermal energy storage. It is through our collaboration with Darcy Partners this year that we identified our research priorities, which I had previously shared with you on the left side of the illustration of the slide. For our fourth quarter 2023 RD&D webinar, we will host Darcy Partners to speak more about the research plan we developed for the Industrial Operations Subprogram in more granularity. Lastly, the proposed 2024 funding allocation for the Clean Energy Applications Program is shared with you today here. We will be allocating 30% towards energy reliability, 30% towards residential and commercial applications, and 40% on industrial operations. The total fund for the program is slightly less than $5 million for the year. Thank you for your time and attention today. I'd like now to open the floor up for Q&A, as well as any feedback our stakeholders would like to share with us today. You can submit your questions in the GoToMeetings question box. Please note that written comments are due by Friday, May 5th, 2023. It has been my pleasure to share with you the details of my program. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Not seeing any hands raised or questions in the question box yet, but we'll give everybody a few minutes to formulate their questions. We previously had a question about the subprogram funding allocations, and I just wanted to comment that we developed those proposals based on our current contracted work and what we forecast could be feasible in 2024. But we're also interested in your feedback about those funding allocations too. So if you have opinions about how we're prioritizing subprograms, please share those with us, and that'll be part of the feedback survey use via this QR code and URL. But are we prioritizing the right subprograms and with our funding allocations? So Alan, we got a question. You mentioned the effort to develop microgrids with renewable gas and hydrogen. What are the lessons learned from the hydrogen innovation experience and the impact on 2024 RD&D?
Thank you for your question. So I'd like to kindly defer this question to our subject matter, Joe Leva, that actually leads that subprogram. Joe, would you like to speak on this question?
Thank you, Alan. Sorry, I was fumbling with the mute button there. I have to admit I am relatively new in this space. I haven't actually gotten the lessons learned on this one, but I'll have to take the action on this one to follow back up on this question. So thank you for the question, and I'll take the action on this one.
Yeah, it's a good question and interesting. The hydrogen innovation experience resides outside of the RD&D program. So it's supported by a different group within SoCalGas, but I think there will be some lessons to be learned. You know, it's recently commissioned and it's currently operating. I think there are some opportunities to leverage it as a testing platform in the future. And I'd be interested in pursuing some opportunities to test new electrolyzers, new fuel cells, new hydrogen storage potentially at that location. But right now it is in operation, and they are providing tours to different groups. So I encourage you to look into it. You can check it out on the SoCalGas website for more information. All right, Alan, next one. Can you expand on how you see thermal energy storage playing a growing role in SoCalGas research and any applications that look promising?
Yeah, so I have a very general and broad answer to that. I think thermal energy storage is quite exciting. It gives us a technology that can be applied across many different sectors. And also, I see thermal energy storage as being an opportunity where we can kind of offset some of the initial capital costs for newer and cleaner technologies. And so, for example, right, we can utilize thermal energy storage to reduce the capacity and size of, for example, gas heat pumps, right? So that's one example of how thermal energy storage can help move the needle on the energy transition.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. It's an interesting technology to help decarbonize industry, not just storing energy to displace it temporally, meaning taking heat when it's not needed and using it later on when it is needed, but also relocating that heat within an industrial process. And so we actually presented a webinar last year, I believe, on a thermal particle fluid being developed at GTI Energy, which could not only capture waste heat, but then flow the particles to a different location in order to utilize the heat in a different but related process step. So a lot of interesting technologies out there. Let's see, next question. Are all distributed hydrogen production natural gas based from a feedstock perspective?
The simple answer is no. I mean, I think right now, the natural gas feedstock through methane pyrolysis is quite hot right now, given the scalability of it and potentially the cost advantage of it. But there are other means of distributed hydrogen production. For example, electrolysis would be a good means of doing that. So the answer is no. Natural gas isn't the only feedstock to provide hydrogen on site.
All right, thanks, Alan. All right, next question. Do we have an interest in encouraging co-located, co-generated, off-grid, autonomous dedicated hydrogen production to feed directly into dedicated high purity hydrogen gathering pipelines? This is an incredibly specific question. I think we have interest in a lot of different parts of this, particularly hydrogen production, within the overarching interest in potentially hydrogen blending, also looking at pure hydrogen pipelines. I think all of these technologies are interesting in providing energy reliability and reducing greenhouse gas emissions within energy systems. All right, next question. Can you talk more about how the RD&D efforts around buildings tie into other efforts with the Hydrogen Home and UCI campus demonstrations, keeping emissions reductions and customer safety as priorities? So I mean, I'll handle this one, but the Hydrogen Home or the Hydrogen Innovation Experience and the UCI campus hydrogen blending demonstrations are both projects that are outside the scope of RD&D. They're managed by other programs within SoCalGas. However, we do see a role within RD&D to enable the future for these types of pilot projects. So thinking about hydrogen blending in a pipeline system, particularly within the Clean Energy Applications Program, we want to make sure that if there is a hydrogen blending standard, or if there are pilot programs utilizing hydrogen blending in the pipeline, that we have identified and tested end-use equipment that can handle those hydrogen blends safely and with low emissions. So we really see the CEA program as enabling the future of these larger scale hydrogen blending demonstrations. But again, those demos are managed outside of the RD&D program. All right, and then the next question is, can you elaborate on the rough number of projects dedicated to the commercial building sector you are targeting for 2024, broken out by tech area? For example, building materials versus HVAC versus district heat, et cetera. So Alan, can you comment on that?
I think it's going to be tough to provide you a rough estimate, given how broad the program is. I think there's 112 active projects, and so I would need some time to evaluate that. But to get you an answer quickly, is you could refer to our 2022 annual report. It actually lists all the 112 active projects under the Customer End Use Applications Program, or formerly known now as the CEA program. And it will also provide you the summary description of each project as well as the current update.
All right, thanks, Alan. No, there are no more questions in the question box right now, but we'll give everybody another minute. Any additional questions for the Clean Energy Applications Program? We'll give everybody another minute. But please, as a reminder, submit your comments after the webinar. You can use the QR code or the link shown. All right. So we do have time, some additional time this afternoon for Q&A about the program. But before we do that, I do want to give everybody an opportunity for a quick stretch break. We put together some stretches that you can do right from your chair. So Clasp your hands together above the head with the palms facing outward. Push your arms up, stretching upward. Hold the pose for 10 seconds. This is going to give you a good upper body and arm stretch. You've all been sitting at the computer for some time today. For your neck, lean your head forward. Roll to one side and hold for 10 seconds. Roll your head over to the other side and down. Lift your chin back up to the starting position. Give your neck a little relief. And then if you're capable, torso stretch, keep your feet on the ground facing forward, twist your upper body to the left. You can place your left arm on the back of your chair, place your right hand on your left knee and stretch. Repeat on the other side. So important to take care of our bodies so that our bodies can take care of us. All right, well, that concludes the content portion of the workshop. I want to thank everybody for sticking with us over the last few hours. I do want to remind you to submit your questions, your comments, rather, using this QR code and/or link by Friday, May 5th. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email us at rddinfo@SoCalGas.com. And we'll stick around for a few minutes if you have any general questions about the program or anything that we didn't cover. I'm asking the team to kind of look back through the questions to see if we missed any from previous portions of the workshop that we can address now.
Matt, this is Karen, and I just want to say I think we've got the gas operations questions addressed. There's still one that Ted asked. I reached out to see if I can get an answer to that question on the blend percentage, Ted, so we will follow up on that question. I think that was the last one. If I missed any from gas operations, please let me know, raise your hand, or highlight the question again. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Looks like there's a question on when the recording will be posted. Matt, do you know?
Yeah, the recording, it'll take a few days. We should have it up on the RD&D website by the end of the week.
If you want to say your question verbally, you can raise your hand.
Yeah, now's the time to unmute. The crowd is thinning out, so if you're generally nervous speaking in front of large groups,
it's not as large.
Not as large. And just a reminder for everyone before you leave, I recommend downloading the handouts for future reference. We did have a question that I answered in the chat box regarding how the public could find out more about the work that RD&D is doing to help the environment. So I'll just share that for the group. Please check out our website, SoCalGas.com/RDD. There you'll find our annual reports. You can also sign up for our quarterly newsletter. You can register for one of our quarterly research webinars. You'll also find recent news about RD&D. If you're active on LinkedIn, I highly recommend following the RD&D account to keep up to date with all of the things we are doing within RD&D and with our research partners. And we have a comment in the box to see, to read a concept paper for the 2021 RPE Open. We'll definitely check that out. Thank you for sharing. And the concept involved a novel line pipe for gaseous hydrogen. Might interest you. We'll definitely take a look at that. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
So Matt, I have a question for you. You've spoken of the survey that you get when you go to the QR code. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what folks might see on that survey form?
Sure, we have, we've set up a web form for folks to submit comments on the 2024 research plan. There are entries for general comments about the RD&D program. There's some spaces where you can enter your feedback on this workshop and what you liked and how we could potentially make it better in the future. And then everyone has the opportunity to comment, provide comments on each of the 4 programs. You do not have to provide comments for all 4 programs. You can provide comments for as many or as few programs as you like. And the questions are generally about how we're allocating funding in the subprograms and technology gaps that maybe we should investigate within those programs and subprograms, and then general comments about the program. So we created a somewhat more structured feedback format this year to kind of help streamline the feedback process a little bit.
Thank you.
And of course, if you have any questions about the survey or the web form, don't hesitate to reach out to us at rddinfo@socalgas.com. And we do ask that the comments come in by Friday, May 5th. That gives us time to incorporate the comments into our draft 2024 research plan in time to submit it sometime in June to the CPUC Energy Division for review.
Your last chance, folks. Any other questions? Raise your hand or type them in the question panel. Or not your last chance in this workshop. You can follow up with the form or sending an email to us.
All right, not seeing any additional questions in the question box, no hands raised. I want to once again thank everyone for taking the time today to join us. And please feel free to reach out to us in the future at rddinfo@socalgas.com. Thanks everyone, have a great afternoon and be safe.